You probably didn't know Peacemaker, at a point in his comics, was selected to join the Yellow Lantern Corps, the Sinestro Corps. Yeah, imagine Peacemaker using Yellow Lantern power for a little bit. Yeah. Peacemaker has been getting a lot more attention lately, even making his appearance in a Mortal Kombat game. He's one of those characters that is a DC Comics character, but like many characters, he has limited comic appearances. Heck, even got some appearances in newer comics. But let's analyze them. Let's analyze Christopher Smith. When it comes to his lore and history, he's really complex. Everybody has their story and what they've been through that kind of shapes who they are. Imagine finding out your dad runs a Nazi concentration camp. Peacemaker's dad ended up killing himself on his birthday. It scarred Chris. He volunteered for army duties at the age of 18, went through basic training, promoted to sergeant, and assigned to tour Vietnam. Several months, he got involved with an attack on a village, and he thought he was doing the right thing, taking out enemies. But after everything was said and done, it was discovered that the military intelligence had erred and that the village had been full of innocent peasants. He was blamed for such mistake and was locked up. Since he was in charge of the entire platoon, he took the brunt of the mistake. Family incident happened to where he ended up getting the inheritance when it comes to money. He next resurfaced in Switzerland as a young millionaire playboy and chairman of the Pax Institute, a private foundation set up to battle terrorism and offer aid to its victims. This is where he kind of became obsessed with this whole peacemaker concept, which the movies kind of implied. John Cena's character version of him playing one-man peace force. He loved peace so much, he was willing to kill for it. But he's a very complex character, and it's even stated here that the man behind the Peacemaker's helmet was still very disturbed, still seeing visions of his father's ghost, and as time passed, he began to believe that the souls of those who died around him from acts of terrorism were taking up residence in his helmet, where they would speak to him demanding justice. Yeah, this is pretty traumatizing. So yeah, the visions of him seeing his dad murk himself. He sees visions of a ghost, his dad talking to him, even though he's not really there. Like, that's the type of stuff he sees. Yeah, so he has some mental issues, but when it comes to DC characters, you're probably used to me talking about characters that have superpowers. There are actually characters that don't have superpowers, but they still do absurdly impressive things when it comes to strength and stuff. Peacemaker is one of those beings via training. Peacemaker is a master at various forms of hand-to-hand combat. He is proficient with most known types of handgun and automatic weapons, as well as demonstrating remarkable skill with throwing knives. I mean, you can kind of see that in this picture. You see him holding a gun and a sword, In this scan, you even see him using a blade on his back here. You know what I mean? But when it comes to his gear, that's part of the reason why he's dangerous too, because Peacemaker's costume doubles as body armor, impervious to all but the high caliber weapons. Yeah, it's not an exaggeration when they say his armor is bulletproof. His helmet contains sophisticated cybernetic microcircuitry to power its various devices, weaponry, including complex communications and surveillance equipment, ultrasonic stunner, infrared capability, laser guidance controls for smart projectiles fired from his handgun. Yeah, like this helmet looks over the top, and yeah, it's for good reason. It's not just to look good, it's actually handy, like it has infrared vision. It's made to where it can see radiation. His helmet can put out stuff to where it can block noises so other people can't hear their conversations. Amazing audio sensors to where he can hear stuff from far away. He has supersonic defense screens that can help protect him from stuff he shouldn't technically survive. Like there was this RPG heading towards him. Also, the helmet gives him warnings. It's almost like the helmet gives him super senses, but yeah, it can protect him from this RPG with this supersonic screen. Speaking of emitting sound, he can use this type of sound from his helmet to torture beings. Just use it for basically offensive purposes, to take out terrorists or just simply knock out terrorists. This helmet comes in handy when people try to dogpile him, and he can just use this to counter them while they're dogpiling them, to push all of them off of them. His helmet can tap him into the phone line. So be careful what you say through the phone. Like, it's got a full-blown system that allows him to pierce the building security screens, listen to their sessions. It's like a full-blown spy equipment helmet, one could say. He can control his vehicles with his helmet. That's why he can make certain chairs self-destruct after he leaves them. Like, this helmet is on some cyborg stuff. Like, it can, hack your missiles guidance systems and stuff, scramble them. Thanks to this helmet, when beings are wearing super-powered power armor, this can kind of give him the edge over beings, even when they have power armors like this. One thing you probably noticed in more of his recent media is that he always wearing a jetpack. This comes from the comics too. He wears a jetpack in the comics. He'll use it to, one can say, increase his striking power. Like, he'll just straight up football tackle you with this jetpack through a wall and stuff. He has your classic spy tech or spy stuff, like placing bugs on beings so he can, spy on them later on or track them down. And he is one of those characters that have his own full-blown lair with a whole computer system. Yeah. It has an automatic scanning thing for news reports. He's always tuned into what's going on live. Yeah, he even has a like secret armory in his office. Like you see his armory, his gear, his helmet, his guns. I mean, I guess there's perks to having money, right? I mean, he has his own personal plane, a hypersonic plane. Speaking of vehicles, he has a helicopter that has infrared recon scan, for scouting the area. It's pretty techy, high tech. It has a radar. Yeah, his gear's pretty busted. He can shoot missiles, machine guns, even heat-seeking missiles, all the military type stuff. Even extra stuff like a Blackbird flying vehicle he can use. That also has machine guns on it he can shoot you with. He can sneak up on beings because he has stealth skills, like a lot of different things that makes him dangerous. But let's talk about him for a little bit without necessarily using guns. We know guns can get destructive. That's not really his true strength. How strong is his actual muscles or strength and stuff like that? Because anybody can be strong if somebody picks up a rocket launcher and stuff. A good way to understand his strength is like, how hard can he hit? How strong is his muscles without necessarily using a gun and stuff, or just his gear and stuff, just relying on that stuff. Yeah, it's true. He's very skilled when it comes to marksmanship, having aim to shoot guns out of people's hands without killing them by accident. Like that type of stuff is kind of expected. Wouldn't you agree? Like he has very good aim, of course, but I'm talking about without these guns and stuff, even though he's extremely skilled. Like a good example of his skill is pressure point combat. He knows. I mean, he's the one that specifically pointed out the pressure points of Giganta. He didn't do it, but he was the one that was able to tell where the pressure points was. They even bring up here, thanks for not doing the puke point, like the pressure point that makes you puke. Just physically speaking, without necessarily relying on gear and stuff, like he's in great shape. Like in this occasion, you can literally see him practicing his gymnastics, very agile. You wouldn't expect him to be this agile. And he's one of those characters that don't necessarily have superpowers in your traditional sense. He's a human in DC, but like I've mentioned this before on the channel, but humans in DC via training can do amazing things via comic logic and even do some absurd stuff like superhuman stuff at times because of hard work and dedication and training. Because there's stuff like this you usually don't normally see. Like this workout machine, you see him do this with one arm, working all of this weight out with one arm. Usually this is supposed to be for both arms, so it'll let you know he's in great shape, even for a human. Stronger than your average human by a lot. Feats like lifting up grown men gets overlooked because people say, oh, it's just a normal size human. But if you're not a weightlifter, it's easy to underestimate feats like this of just slinging grown folk like this. Or lifting men above your head with one arm. Stuff like that is harder than you think. It gets overlooked because you're used to seeing Superman or superpowered characters and stuff. So stuff like this ain't really that impressive. But for somebody that doesn't have no superpowers, this is actually way stronger than average humans being able to do stuff like this. They're doing this stuff while he's shooting guns and stuff with his muscles. The implications of out of the ordinary levels of strength. Like look how he's tossing these men aside with one arm apiece, like they're just bags of water or something. Like in DC, you can kind of become a super soldier tier without necessarily having super soldier serum. There's implications Peacemaker could be like one of those characters, kind of like how Nightwing is, even though you don't have no powers or nothing, you just still can hang with beings that are out of ordinarily strong. Like that seems like what Peacemaker has going for him. I mean, look at this crap. This guy's over here breaking chains and crap with his brute strength. Even does some Bane type stuff and picks him up, busts up his back. When it comes to his body, this man broke a stick trying to hit him. I mean, this could be because of his armor's durability too, or his helmet. Tell me this isn't superhuman. Look how he jumps off this building. Look at this long fall, guys. No jetpack on, by the way. And he just lands on his feet like it's no big deal, guys. Do you see what I mean when I say these characters, even if they don't have superpowers, they usually be doing superhuman stuff? So imagine all this raw physicals that I've already kind of showed you with, like, imagine what his punches feel like. He's a trained fighter. Usually trained fighters can hit harder than what their size relatively looks like. So what's the weight behind his swings? We see him punch out terrorists here, for example, without necessarily relying on his guns and stuff. Superhuman entity type stuff. We've seen him punch. One can argue that Peacemaker's punches hit harder than some of his guns, like this super being, this reptile looking man. You see him shooting this being and he eats that kind of stuff, with the gun. Doesn't flinch from the gun, but somehow when Peacemaker hits him, it looks like it kind of works. You see what I mean? He can hit real hard. We've seen him break down doors, strike hard enough. Even though we see him using guns a lot, we can see him strike hard enough to crack helmets. When beings are wearing power armor, of course, it's pretty much proven he can punch beings through walls with his punching power, like through stone walls. It'll let you know he can hit ridiculously hard. The weight of his swings can crack brick walls or just concrete walls. This is not bad for somebody with no superpowers. Wouldn't you agree? Definitely some super soldier-ish type stuff. You know what I'm saying? He struck and gave hands to this being like Vigilante. Beings that are skilled fighters like him, just like what he can punch out with, he can withstand hits, while also kicking out with this type of force. Part of this could be his armor helping protect him. You get the idea. In this occasion, this was more or less hand-to-hand, fighting somebody on his similar level of strength physically, one could say. Like just a straight-up fist fight, slugfest. extended amount of time fighting beings like Vigilante. This just highlights the stuff I brought up earlier about how he can just fight straight up without using guns. Close quarters, fighting Vigilante, and then the cops show up. One could say this is a hand-to-hand feat or just raw strength. A whole bunch of people on him, and he's able to take all of them on by himself. Like, he doesn't need guns to just pull up on a whole bunch of terrorists. Even if they got weapons and guns, he just blitzes all of them. Like, obviously, he's not a Blue Beetle level being, because Blue Beetle can, like, destroy planets and stuff. But when Blue Beetle got his weapon systems powered down, this probably is his most impressive feat of all time. Even if Blue Beetle's weapons are nerfed, this is kind of crazy. You still see the armor on him still. But yeah, one could say the armor's weapons could be messing up Blue Beetle's durability or something, because realistically, his punches shouldn't even be able to make him move or something. My point about him being a super soldier tier without serum earlier, this starts to make more sense, right? Yeah, he's definitely a super soldier tier, at least being able to do stuff like this. So yeah, he can hit this hard with his skills and everything put together. He's strong enough to fight beings that got power armor and stuff, creatures of all sorts, mutated creatures. And imagine all this punching power with a sharp blade. Yeah, don't give him a sword with all this strength he already proved he can have without no blunt object. Deadshot is another being. He's one of those beings that can crack walls by slamming beings against it, so he's out of the ordinary really strong. Deadshot is a marksman type character that is respected by Batman. Batman even says you purposely miss him. Batman, you guys already know him. A lot of super soldier tier feats, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say Peacemaker's up there with Deadshot when it comes to raw aiming, even though Peacemaker can aim really well. I would say in hand-to-hand, I would definitely give him the edge over Deadshot still, but yeah, this is not easy. Deadshot still can fight, but he kind of does give Deadshot the business here, also showing his fighting skills, strength and everything put together. With all this strength and fighting skill and stuff, on top of this stuff, there's clear indications he has fighting speed. I mean, for one, there's like literally too many occasions of him doing the classic thing that DC characters do, avoiding gunfire, dodges a blast from Blue Beetle, RPG, he dodges, and this occasion his back was turned. He has enough raw reflexes to turn around, see it incoming, you know, all thanks to his reflexes. Missiles, he's dodged when he was fighting his being with his battle armor. Powerhouse tier type characters, he's dodging blasts from like major fours. Imagine pointing a gun at him only for him to blitz you to where you can't even shoot, smacks you with your own gun too quickly for you to know what happened. Imagine somebody actually being on guard and you're still fast enough to light them up before they do anything. Even if they're right in your face, like, you still light them up. Like, some of this stuff is marksmanship feats when him using a gun, of course. Some of this stuff is just fighting speed, like him just shooting guns out of hands and stuff. Not only is that marksmanship, but he's actually fast enough to, you know, shoot you before you get a chance to shoot him. Even when multiple people are trying to shoot him, he's always fast enough to shoot them first. Even when he has his back turned and he's being ambushed, guys, one could say this is marksmanship, but this is just straight up fighting speed. Like, he turns around and hits every single one of them before they can even do anything. This is just aiming feats, pops both of y'all. So him being able to react to things faster than bullets kind of makes sense with the standard DC characters that are humans that have no superpowers. I mean, after all, there are Bat family members that can literally stare at bullets and dodge them. This is like a standard DC thing. There's no reason to not believe Peacemaker shouldn't be able to do similar stuff. I mean, they kind of are following the similar trope of him being abnormally strong for and fast for a human, you know? Not to mention, if you do hit him, he has parts of his armor that's bulletproof anyway. So, I mean, there's even statements of humans like Batman stating he could pluck a bullet out of the air. So it's just common DC Comics over-the-top super soldier strength type stuff. Even though you don't have superpowers, you can still train your way up to be able to apparently pluck bullets out of there. It's the same stuff with Peacemaker, it seems like. All this fighting speed could be part of the reason why he can hit so hard. Because, you know, when you can punch faster, there's more weight behind it because of velocity. That could be part of the reason why he can hit hard too. Punching through brick walls and concrete because of his punching speed, fighting speed, reaction time, stuff like that. That could attribute to that kind of stuff. On why there's so much weight behind his punches or swings. Why do you think he can hit so hard? Without even necessarily relying on his guns. I'm talking about blunt hits. Why do you think that's the case? We already know his muscles and stuff is this strong. Like, imagine him with his actual guns that are even stronger. Like, he's got absurdly strong pistols that can not only splatter through beings like nothing, but has enough raw power to destroy a helicopter with a single shot. Imagine having a gun on your side with this kind of destructive power. Like, some of these guns look like full-blown energy blasts, guys. Like, why is there such a large radius of explosion? He has guns or just gear that can shoot through power armor. Because he preps for stuff like that, because he has coating around his gun stuff to make his stuff hit harder. So what I'm saying is, basically, if you're bulletproof, that doesn't necessarily mean you're safe from Peacemaker's guns. He's got guns to blast back beings like Major Force. Major Force is a powerful DC-type powerhouse being that's super strong and super durable enough to, you know, give beings like Superman some issues. You know, Superman, even points where he made Superman drowsy. Like, that's the type of being I'm talking about. That's the being that Peacemaker's blasting backwards with his guns. Like, I'm not saying his guns are as strong as Planet Busters or nothing, but it's like the fact he pushed them back here when other guns don't even make him move. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just take that as you will. I mean, imagine having a gun that's so mighty towards like a mini nuke, one could say, No, it's not my opinion. They even say, what, a little nuke can blow up a literal pyramid, like, so he can easily take down buildings, like with some of his gear. Like, what kind of stuff is this? Imagine having gear you can pull out that can level big structures like this. Gear or weapons that can blast with thousands of tons of force. Yeah, Peacemaker. I don't think nobody will pull up to his crib if he has gear like this waiting for you. I want to hear what you guys think. How strong do you think Peacemaker is when it comes to his weapons? Without his weapons, I think his weapons are way stronger, but he can still probably punch through walls without no weapon. You know what I mean? With just his blunt punches, just because he's a DC super soldier-centric human type character that's trained his way up to be stronger than normal. You know, the classic DC stuff. I've been going over his old self a lot of this video, but thanks to the live action content, the Suicide Squad movie, the recent movie, he's been getting a lot more attention recently, and his comic stuff kind of reminds you of the DC live action universe version of him, the way he looks. I mean, he's basically the same character. It's a lot of similarities, but there's definitely some differences between continuities, but I've been basically going over this, but yeah, he can basically do a lot of similar stuff here when it comes to screen time. Just like the Peacemaker I explained earlier in this video about his lore and his origin, he's pretty traumatized in this universe as well. The Rebirth era stuff. He was trained since birth. Stuff you already know throughout this video. I've already told you. He has a good for nothing dad. And it's the same concept of doing anything for peace. He'd even kill for it. Like, it's that same stuff. There's even flashbacks of him training with his dad. So one could argue this version of him got training at an earlier age than the earlier comics version of himself. Despite this, he still has that trauma that he had in the other continuity. His dad calling him stupid. His dad despising him. There's heavy implications he still has over-the-top guns in this universe. And since his training from birth, like, it's implied he can use them too. Like, experience using them. So it's a fair assumption to assume he's a really good marksman. In my personal opinion, I kind of like how they do his helmet thing in the newer comics. Like, he's way more versatile when it comes to the different versatile abilities his different helmets can do. Each helmet specializing in a different perk, one could say. Bro, what? A Bane voice helmet? What? It's even brought up here in how his dad's mean. But yeah, he got this gear. Standard, one could say the standard gear. Like helmets that can even cover his mouth all the way up. I mean, this helmet in particular, it can shoot literal laser beams or blasts. He seems to be able to just spam it. Yeah, but I guess these helmets were the only good thing his father did for him. Anywho, in the Rebirth saga still, he uses his gadgets in combat still. He's shown to have full-blown martial arts ability, fighting skilled fighters like Talon. Just like the stuff I've already went over, Rebirth stuff, he can still fight. We've also seen him use different weapons like Iskrama sticks, using some Nightwing type weapons. Seems to have some energy sticks, Iskrama sticks. We've seen him use blades and knives, swords, same stuff we've seen him in the earlier comics. He does that stuff in the newer comics too. Other good fighters, in pure hand-to-hand, he can battle it out with like Red X. That doesn't mean he's invincible or nothing, because he can lose to beings that are similarly strong and skilled as him. I mean, DC has a lot of super soldier tiers. So yeah, Red X is one of the top tier fighters. It's even stated that beings like Red X is a Batman level intellect in the field. Just like in his old days, he can kick doors down, throw people in the air with one arm, punch mobs of beings and make all of them go to sleep. It's the similar stuff while trolling. Picking up beings with one arm. Yikes, guys, this is painful. He's holding a guy up against a wall with his freaking finger. Yeah, he totally doesn't have normal human level strength, guys. I'm sorry. That's just strength and skill put together, one could say. Battling super soldier-esque centric type beings like Deathstroke, Teen Deathstroke, clone teenage version of the stuff we just said, Deadliest Assassin, Teen Deathstroke, beings that are super soldier centric. You get the idea. When I say strong, I mean really freaking strong. Like carrying 2 men at the same time, physically strong, lifting a lot of weight. I'm talking about taking out two beings that are armored up strong when it comes to his hits. I'm talking about punching down Kryptonian tiers. Like, he was weakened here by Kryptonite, of course, but it's something cool to see. Don't take it too serious, though. He's not Kryptonian tier, though. Like, he's Kryptonite, you know. He even teamed up with an alternate universe Peacemaker. Just like how Bloodsport is in the movies, Peacemaker and Bloodsport has fought in the comics. Like boxing each other. Matching him in strength and in general, his armor and everything put together, have him survive stuff he shouldn't technically be able to survive. Like surviving hits from Kryptonian tiers like Superwoman and crap, probably because of his helmet. Obviously can't win though, but still impressive he survived. It comes in handy to have gear like this so when you get shot from the back or get backstabbed, it'll help you survive. Look how his armor looks after getting shot from the back. I mean, he can finger flick and knock out certain beings. So he's got to have some superhuman attributes, even though he technically doesn't have superpowers. Rebirth continuity pretty much confirms he has combat speed. You can't just shoot him just because you got him in direct line of sight. Like, they even perceive the bullet slow it. Like, the way they draw the panels here, you see him dodge the stuff. They even say stand still. So it lets you know he's still fast. Blitzing somebody that's shooting directly at you with a gun just shows you're fast. How did he not get hit? I mean, we've literally seen him punch and get punched by a gorilla. But what do you guys think, guys? How strong do you think Peacemaker is? No matter which continuity, he could definitely punch through walls, do super soldier tier type stuff. He got hit by a gorilla, punched it back, you know. It's just another day in the life of living in the world of DC Comics. Being a human is amazing. Kind of like Baki universe, how there's no superpowers in Baki, but humans can do superhuman stuff with enough training. Peacemaker, along with a lot of different characters in DC, like Batman tier characters, they do superhuman stuff that doesn't make sense, even though they're technically normal humans. But what do you guys think? Do you think Peacemaker is only a threat with his gear? Do you respect the fact he can punch through thick, solid concrete like other super soldier tiers? Do superhuman stuff like reacting to bullets consistently, boxing it out with gorillas? Similar to how the fictional universe of Baki, humans can do ridiculous stuff without no superpowers, just with training they can do amazing stuff. That's kind of like what Peacemaker and Marvel or DC super soldier tiers do. You know, you don't need serum, just enough hard work. You can get this strong with enough working out, I guess, whatever that means. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. It does help out a lot, believe it or not. Respect Peacemaker. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.